I returned from Israel, where I had the pleasure of guiding a group of 350 amazing individuals from all over the United States. Together, we explored the biblical sites, retraced the steps of Jesus, and witnessed firsthand the remarkable and miraculous nation of Israel. However, despite this awe-inspiring experience, I must admit that Israel's political situation is in disarray, and perhaps even more complicated than our own. Currently, there is a divisive conflict within the Israeli government regarding the role of their Supreme Court. During our stay, we observed up to 100,000 demonstrators taking to the streets to voice their concerns. Fortunately, we were not directly affected by the protests. Despite the protests and heated rhetoric, it is noteworthy that Israel has remained relatively peaceful. There have been no reports of police cars being set on fire, riots causing personal injuries, local businesses being torched, or mass looting. This is a stark contrast to what we have witnessed in our own country over the past few years. Cities such as Portland, Seattle, Los Angeles, New York, Washington, D.C., and many others have become battlegrounds, with public buildings and community grocery stores being set ablaze, and innocent bystanders being targeted with bricks, sometimes resulting in serious injury or death. From my observations, Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East, and they allow for freedom of speech, protests, and vocal disagreements with the government. If one were to attempt a protest in any of the Muslim-controlled countries in the region, such as Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, or Iran, it is unlikely that the government would respond with benign approval, or even worse, helplessness. It is important to note that the crackdown on protesters by the government of those countries, such as Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, or Iran, is likely to be swift, effective, and brutal. On the other hand, Israelis are known for their passion for politics and their own beliefs, yet they are overwhelmingly civil. In terms of national security, they are united and stand together to protect their borders and prepare to defend their homeland from any potential attacks. The Israelis understand that due to their physical footprint being no bigger than the size of New Jersey, they are constantly threatened by anti-Semitic enemies from their neighborhood and all over the globe, who are always looking for an opportunity to pounce and destroy their tiny nation. Israelis may have their own internal struggles, but they stand united and prepared when it comes to protecting their existential right to exist. I envy their ability to recognize real threats to their way of life, and their proactive approach to border control. They don't simply patrol their borders, they control them. The idea of millions of people illegally crossing their borders and expecting housing, medicine, food, and education is laughable to them. While there are certainly kind and generous people in Israel, they recognize the importance of protecting their nation and its resources. It is worth noting that Israelis are not foolish, and they do not use their military as a woke playground to ensure that their defense forces embody diversity, equity, and political correctness. Instead, every male at the age of 18 is required to serve in the army for 3 years, while every female is required to serve for 2 years. They wear military uniforms and defend their country with pride, while many 18-year-olds in America are more concerned about having their preferred pronouns recognized. It is concerning to me that our country seems to be more focused on political correctness and identity politics than on national defense and protecting our citizens. I find hope in the fact that parents are showing up at school board meetings to demand that their children's curriculum focuses on practical skills like reading and math, instead of the nonsense of little boys imagining themselves as girls and participating in women's sports, or undressing in the girls' locker rooms. Furthermore, I see hope in moments like the Asbury revival, which appears to be happening on college campuses. Young people are sick and tired of the emptiness of a godless culture and are searching for something deeper and more meaningful. It's heartening to see that students at Asbury and other campuses are falling to their knees, not to show contempt for the flag or national anthem, but to pray. Although some critics may find fault with some of the things being said, I believe that it's far more important to recognize the spiritual awakening happening on these campuses. I pray that this awakening will shake college students and their campuses, and lead to a breakthrough for our nation's leadership and a return to biblical norms of behavior and viewpoints. When I see thousands of students on their knees in prayer, it gives me hope for the future. It's the thousands who engage in looting, rioting, and violence that scare me for the future of my country and the hope for my grandchildren.